Hello students, my name is Shayan Mitra. I am the faculty member of Department of Electronics and Communication Engineering of Greater Kolkata College of Engineering and Management. Today I am going to in the class of sampling theorem and its implication. This is the continuation of the previous lecture. Today we are going to discuss about the interpolation part. Okay, so let's begin with our lecture. This is the lecture number 32 and as we all know the subject code is EC303. Okay, so as we are discussing mm the sampling theorem. So let's begin with. So it was assumed that the sampling frequency was sufficiently high and that the conditions of the sampling theorem were met. As illustrated in the figure that we have already discussed, this figure that with omega is greater than 2 omega m, the spectrum of the sample signal consists of scaled replication of the spectrum of xt, and this forms the basis for the sampling theorem. When omega is less than 2 omega m, xj omega, the spectrum of xt is no longer replicated in xpj omega, and thus this is no longer recoverable by low pass filtering. This effect, in which the individual terms overlap, is referred to as aliasing, and this section we explore its effect and consequence. Clearly, with the system, the figure this figure is about 7.4 is basically the previous figure that we have discussed in the previous lecture, is applied to a signal with omega is less than 2 omega m. The reconstructed signal xrt will no longer be equal to xt. However, as explored in problem, the original signal and the signal xrt that is reconstructed using band limited interpolation will always be equal at the sampling instance. That is for any choice of omega s, xrnt and xnt. Some insight into the relationship between x of t and xrt when omega is less than 2 omega m is provided by considering in more detail the comparatively simple case of sinusoidal signal. Thus let xt is equal to cos omega 0 t with Fourier transform x of j omega as indicated in figure this. In this figure we have graphically distinguished the impulse of at omega 0 from that at minus omega 0 for convenience. Let us consider xp j omega, the spectrum of the sample signal, and focus in particular on the effect of a change in the frequency omega 0 with sampling frequency omega is fixed. Now from that what we have here, that several values of omega 0 also indicated and the dash lines with that simple that we just changing the sampling frequency. As we changing the sampling frequency for xrt cos omega 0 t xt, for this value there are four different values that has been given here. Okay, now when aliasing occurs, the original frequency omega 0 takes on the identity of a lower frequency omega 0 minus omega 0 for omega s by 2 less than equal to omega 0 and less than equal to omega s. As omega 0 increases relative to omega s, the output frequency omega s minus omega 0 decreases when omega s is equal to omega 0. For example, the reconstructed signal is a constant. This is consistent with the fact that when sampling once per cycle, the samples are all equal and would be identical to those obtained by sampling a constant signal. Now we have depicted for each of the four cases the signal xt it samples and reconstructed the signal from the figure. We can see how the low pass, this is the example. I am going to come back here. Low pass filter interpolates between the samples, in particular always fitting a sinusoid of frequency less than omega s by 2 to the samples of xt. As a variation on the preceding example, consider the signal xt is equal to cos omega 0 t plus phi. Now these are the signals that is going to discuss here right now. Okay, the first, suppose the effect in the frequency domain of overlap, oversampling or undersampling. The spectrum of the original sinusoidal signal. So this is the original sinusoidal signal. This is the spectrum of the original sinusoidal signal. We have two halves and there will be two triangle if it is been constructed rightly. Spectrum of original sinusoidal signal we already understand. Now B is a spectrum of sample signal with omega is greater than 2 omega. Now as we have here, that when the sampling frequency is greater than the total bandwidth of the frequency spectrum of the original signal, then the frequency spectrum will look like this, which is xp j omega, these values. Okay, so it looks like this. Now what is happened is we can easily identify the uh, real frequency spectrum of the original signal. Now as long as the sampling frequency is greater than the bandwidth of the frequency spectrum of the specific original signal, we can using any kind of any kind of low pass filter, band pass filter, we can easily recover the original part of the frequency spectrum. So from that we can easily recover the original signal also at the time domain. So that's not the point, but as soon as we started to increase the sample rate, which means we decrease the sampling frequency. As soon as we started to decrease the sampling frequency, what will happen? This specific band pass will no longer be invisible for other spectrums. As we increase it, as we decrease the frequency, what will happen? The signals are get closer to each other. Okay. So as it happens, spectrum of sample signal omega s, where the value of signal frequency is less than 2 omega 0 of the bandwidth of the signal. So as we increase omega 0 in moving from B through the impulses drawn with the solid lines move to the right, while the impulses drawn with the dashed line moves to the left. Okay. These impulses have moved sufficiently that there is a change in the ones falling within the pass band of the ideal low pass filter. It goes falling into the ideal low pass filter within the range of it. Now filter interpolates between the samples, and in particular always fitting a sinusoid of frequency less than omega s by 2 to the samples of xt. As a variation on the preceding example, consider the signal xt cos omega 0 t plus phi. Now if we just construct the signal, this is the original signal. Okay. These are reconstructed samples. Okay. These are the reconstructed samples. Okay. Now as we decreasing the frequency, what will happen? The signals will get closer to each other. Looks like this. Okay. Now as soon as we increase the thoroughly, what will happen? That at A this value B, at C and D, no, so A and B no aliasing occurs, whereas C and D there is an aliasing. Take a look here. This is the aliasing is happening. Okay. One second. This is the original signal. This is the A, and this is the B. There is no aliasing is happening in these sequences. Okay. So when we go back to this, as we decrease the sampling frequency, the aliasing will start to happen. Okay, this is the C. Yes, here is the aliasing is happening. This value is getting outward from this point. Okay, so in this case, the Fourier transform of xt is essentially the same as this, except that the impulse indicated with the solid line now has amplitude of this, while the impulse indicated with the dashed line has amplitude with the opposite phase, namely this. If we now consider the same set of choices for omega 0, the resulting spectra for the sample versions are exactly as in the figure, with all solid impulses having amplitude this and all dashed ones having amplitude this. Again, in cases B and C, the condition of the sampling theorem is met, so that x of rt cos omega 0 t plus phi xt, while in D and E we again have aliasing. However, we see that there has been a reversal in the solid and dashed impulses appearing in the passband of the low pass filter. As a result, we find that in these cases, wherein we have a change in the sign of the phase, a phase reversal. It is important to note that the sampling theorem explicitly requires that the sampling frequency be greater than the twice the highest frequency in the signal, rather than greater than or equal to twice the highest frequency. Okay. The next example is the sampling sinusoidal signal has exactly twice its frequency. So let's begin with it. This is a sinusoidal function, and suppose that the signal is sampled using impulse sampling at exactly twice the frequency of the sinusoid at sampling frequency omega s. If this impulse sample signal is applied as the input to an ideal low pass filter with cutoff frequency omega s by 2, the resulting output will be this. As a consequence, we see that perfect reconstruction of xt occurs only in the case in which the phase phi is 0. Now otherwise the signal xt does not equal to xrt. Okay. As an extreme example, consider the case in which phi is equal to minus pi by 2, so that the signal will look. The signal is cast in figure. We have observed that the value of the signal as integer multiples of the sampling period 2 pi by omega are 0. Consequently, sampling at this rate produces a signal that is identically 0. And when this 0 input is applied to the ideal low pass filter, the resulting output xrt is also identically 0. The effect of undersampling, whereby higher frequencies are reflected into lower frequencies, is the principle on which the stroboscopic effect is based. Consider, for example, the situation in which we have a disc rotating in a constant rate with a single radial line marked on the disc. The flashing strobe acts as a sampling system, since it illuminates the disc for extremely brief time intervals as a periodic rate. When the strobe frequency is much higher than the rotational speed of the disc, the speed of rotation of the disc is perceived correctly. When the strobe frequency becomes less than twice the rotational frequency of the disk, the rotation appears to be at lower frequency than is actually the case. Furthermore, because of phase reversal, this will appear to be rotating in the wrong direction. Roughly speaking, if we track the position of a fixed line on the disk at successive samples, then when omega s is greater than omega 0 and less than 2 omega 0, so that we sample somewhat more frequently than once per revolution. Samples of the disk will show the fixed line in position that are successively displaced in a counterclockwise direction, opposite to the clockwise rotation of the disk itself. At one flash per revolution corresponding to omega s is equal to omega 0, the radial line appears stationary. The rotational frequency of the disk and its harmonic have been aliased to zero frequency. A similar effect is commonly observed in Western movies. This is the rotating disk, the strobe effect. Now let's get into the discrete time processing of continuous time signal. Now in many applications, there is a significant advantage offered in processing a continuous time signal by first converting it to a discrete time signal, and after discrete time processing, converting back to a continuous time signal. The discrete time signal processing can be implemented with a general or special purpose computer, with microprocessor, or with any of variety of devices that are specifically oriented towards discrete time signal processing. So in broad terms, this approach to continuous time signal processing can be viewed as the cascade of three operations, where x of ct and y of ct are continuous time signals, and x of dn and y of dn are the discrete time signals corresponding to x of ct and y of ct. The overall system is, of course, a continuous time system in the sense that its input and output are both continuous time signals. The theoretical basis for converting a continuous time signal to a discrete time signal and reconstructing a continuous time signal from its discrete time representation lies in the sampling theorem. Through the process of periodic sampling with the sampling frequency consistent with the conditions of sampling theorem, the continuous time signal x of t is exactly represented by a sequence of instantaneous sample values. That is, the discrete time sequence x of dn is related to x of tn. Now it's look like from x of tn we conversion to a discrete time. The discrete time system we conversion of a continuous time system. Okay. The transformation of x of t to x of dn corresponding to the first system will be referred to as continuous to discrete time conversion, and will be abbreviated. The reverse operation corresponding to a third system will be abbreviated discrete to continuous, represent discrete time to continuous time. The DC operation performs the interpolation between the sample values provided as an input. The DC operation produces a continuous time signal which is related to the discrete time signal as this. It look like this. Okay, so this is the continuous discrete time conversion and discrete time conversion. Let's go there. To understand further the relationship between the continuous time signal and the discrete time representation, it is helpful to represent as a this process continuous to discrete time signal conversion as a process of periodic sampling followed by a mapping of the impulse train to a sequence. These two steps are illustrated in the figure 7.21. One second, let's go to the one. Okay, so how it works? First we fed this signal, and we get using the multiplier we fed these two as this signal conversion of impulse train to discrete time sequence. After completion of this, we multiply after multiplying we get this value. This is the xpt. Okay, this is the xdn, and it looks like this. Now sampling with a periodic impulse train followed by a conversion to a discrete time sequence, the overall system x of tn for two sampling rates. The dashed envelope represents x of t and the output sequence for the two different sampling rates. To begin, let us express xp j omega, the continuous time Fourier transform xpt, in terms of the sample values of xct by applying the Fourier transform to equation. Since this value is looks like that, since the transform is look like e to the minus j omega nt, it follows that x of xp j omega summation of n is equal to minus infinity plus infinity xc nt e to the minus j omega nt. Now consider this discrete time Fourier transform. It looks like this. Now using this equation we can rewrite this again, and by comparing see that x of t and xp j omega are related through this. As I recall that as developed in this equation, xp j omega 1 by t summation minus infinity plus infinity, we can do this. Consequently, this looks like this. So the relationship among x of c j omega and xp j omega and xc d to the j phi is illustrated in here for two different sampling rates. Here is a frequency scale version of xp j omega. Let's look like this. Okay, this is the values. As we increase the sampling spacing, so frequency will be decreased, and so as there is a specific gap between these two copies of aliasing, and now the aliasing part aliases are very close to overlap each other at the very format. Okay, So in particular is periodic in this part. So let's go through the diagram also. This is the conversion part, simple conversion. Okay, so the whole system to filtering this, multiplying this, we get conversion of the impulse train to sequence, and you get this conversion of the sequence to impulse train, and you get this value, and xc j omega, you get this. Okay, the frequency domain illustration of the system of figure continuous time spectrum xc j omega, the spectrum after impulse train sampling, spectrum of discrete time sequence that are multiplied to form this, spectra that are multiplied to form this, spectra that are multiplied to form this. Okay, these are the spectra. Okay, okay, one second. Now let's get into the sampling of discrete time signal. Now in analogy with continuous time sampling as carried out answering using the system this sampling of discrete time signal, the analogy with continuous time simple as carried also, the sampling of discrete time signal can be represented as shown this. Here the two sequence xpn resulting from a sampling process is equal to the original sequence x of n at integer multiples of the sampling period n, and is 0 at the intermediate samples. Now it's looked like this, as you already know. As with continuous time sampling section 1, the effect of the frequency domain of discrete time sampling is seen by using the multiplication property developed in this part. Thus with x suffix pn, x of n pn is looked like this. We have in the frequency domain x p to the power j omega, which is equal to 1 by 2 pi integration of 2 pi p to the power j theta x of e to the power j omega minus d theta, and by multiplying that we get these values, and this is the original signal, the discrete time signal. We use the train of impulse, and just by multiplying both we get these values. Okay, okay, so the Fourier transform of the sampling sequence is look like this: p suffix n, and the frequency domain will provide you the answer of 2 pi by n. In place of ts we use the n, and the sequence will be the same, summation of minus infinity to plus infinity del omega minus k omega s, where omega s the sampling frequency equals 2 pi by n. Combining these two equations we have this particular sequence. Now this equation is the counterpart of for the discrete time sampling for continuous time sampling, and is illustrated there. With omega s minus omega m greater than omega m, or equivalently omega s greater than 2 omega m, there is no aliasing the non-zero portion of the replicas and do not overlap. Whereas with omega s less than 2 omega m, the frequency domain aliasing results in the absence of aliasing is faithfully reproduced around omega is equal to 0 and integer multiples of 2 pi. Consequently, x of n can be recovered from xpn by means of low pass filter with a gain n and a cutoff frequency greater than omega m and less than omega s minus omega m. Now where we have specified the cutoff frequency of the low pass filter as omega s by 2, if the overall system is applied to a sequence for which omega s is less than 2 omega m, so the aliasing results will no longer be equal to x of n. However, as with continuous time sampling, the two sequence will be equal at multiples of the sampling period, that is corresponding to this equation, and the specific graphical representation will be looks like this. This is the original signal. We use the impulse train we have already discussed. After multiplied both this, at this point we only get the values. When we multiply one with this particular amplitude, we will get this amplitude. So these are the multiplied form of the discrete time signal. Okay, after that we convert it into the frequency spectrum. This is the frequency spectrum of the original signal, this is the frequency spectrum of the impulse train. When we multiplied both of them, we get this value. We get this is the multiplied version, and we get these values. Okay, this is the original part, these are the aliases of the original part. As the value of n here is sufficiently lower, that's why the frequency is high. Now as soon as we start to increase the value of n, okay, the sample spacing for discrete time signal, the frequency will start to decrease, with which the aliases copies will overlap with the original signal. So now at that situation, if we use a low pass filter, band pass filter to extract the original signal, we will get a distorted signal. Basically it could be said that the original signal is not recoverable when you don't use when you have a time interval or sample space of uh, when you have a large sample space or large time interval. In case of continuous time signal, the frequency, sampling frequency will decrease as soon as as soon as the sampling frequency get decreased, it basically overlapped with the original signal. So when you try to filter it out from the stream of signals, the original signal, when you try to filter out the when trying to filter out the original signal, it, uh, this thing is not recoverable at the situation. So uh, it is that's why the aliases will appear. So this is the original signal where we have a low value of capital N. Now as soon as we increase the capital N, it looks like this. Okay, this is it. That's why I said here the spectrum of sample signal with omega is greater than 2 omega m, the spectrum of sample signal with omega is less than 2 omega m. Okay, now as you have, it is already have this been discussed. One second. Okay, that has been said here. So let's go to the graphical representation. This is the multiplication form. We use the, this is the train of impulse, this is the original signal, we get this signal, and as we multiplied we get this result. We use the low pass filter, we get the minus omega minus omega. The exact recovery of discrete time signal from its samples using an ideal low pass filter. Block diagram is already said here. I have already given all the examples. X vector of the signal x of n. Now as soon as we increase the omegas, it will the aliasing will happen and consequence things will happen again. Now let's go through an example. Consider a sequence x of n whose Fourier transform x of e to the power j omega has the property that x to the power j omega is equal to 0 for 2 pi by 9 less than equal to mod omega less than equal to pi. To determine the lowest rate at which x of n may be sampled without the possibility of aliasing, we must find the largest n such that this value. We conclude that n max is equal to 4 and the corresponding sampling frequency is 2 pi by 4 is equal to pi by 2. The reconstruction of x of n through the use of low pass filter applied to an xpn can be interpreted in the time domain as an interpolation formula. With h of n denoting the impulse response of the low pass filter, we have this value. The reconstruction sequence looks like this or equivalently this. Now representation, the ideal band limited interpolation requires the implementation of an ideal low pass filter. In typical application, a suitable approximation for the low pass filter is used, in which the case the equivalent interpolation formula is of the form where h of Rn is the impulse response of the interpolating filter. Some specific examples including the discrete time counterparts of the zero order hold and first order hold discussed. The discrete time decimation and interpolation. There are variety of important applications of the principles of discrete time sampling, such as filter design and implementation. And inefficient represent transmit or store the sample sequence. Okay, let's go through one example again. One second. Yes, good. Okay, so let's go through this example. Okay, now this is the upsampling or interpolation where you had as a good example also. In some application in which a sequence is obtained by sampling a continuous time signal, the original sampling rate may be as low as possible without introducing aliasing, but after additional processing and filtering, the bandwidth of the sequence may be reduced. An example of such situation is shown in this. Since the output of the discrete time filter is band limited, downsampling or decimation can be applied. Just in some application it is useful to downsample. There are situation in which it is useful to convert a sequence to a higher equivalent sampling rate, a process referred to as upsampling or interpolation. This is the upsampling or interpolation. So what is the basic function of upsampling? The upsampling is basically the reverse of decimation or downsampling. Okay, in decimation we first sample, then retain only the sequence values at the sampling instant. To upsample, we reverse the process. For example, we consider the upsampling the sequence xbn to obtain x of n. From xbn, we form the sequence xbn by increasing n minus 1 points with 0 amplitude between each of the values xbn. The interpolated sequence x of n is then obtained from xpn by low pass filtering. The overall procedure is summarized in this part. Okay, this looks like this. So what we have done? So when we are downsampling, what is the downsampling means? Downsampling means this is the xbn, this is the frequency. Now what we have done, we have increased the space between the two consecutive signal. The spacing of two consecutive signal is increased. It means the basically the sampling rate. the time interval has been increased, and as soon as we increase the time interval, what will happen? The sampling frequency will decrease. So that is the requirement. So it is depending upon the situation of the frequency spectrum, how what kind of information we are trying to extract. Depending upon that, we can use the upsampling or downsampling process. Using that, we can extract the specific signals from the frequency spectrum. Okay, so this is known as the interpolation. Okay, so we will conclude our lecture here. Okay, so by which we have end the lecture of sampling. Okay, bye.